Hello everyone, welcome to HotCars, and you join me today with another plug-in hybrid electric BMW. This time I'm in the X3 xDrive30e. That's its full title, and like the X5 that was just featured on the channel, this is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that has real usable electric day-to-day range and a detuned gasoline engine. The combined power output of this compact crossover is 288 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. And I'm going to go into depth as what the driving experience is like in the X3 and all of the different variations that can contribute to a more efficient drive or a more engaging drive. But just from the horsepower and torque figures alone, you have to know that this is actually a really quick BMW. It's always nippy off of the line, and depending on what mode you're using, you can always comfortably gain speed without really any serious thought or effort. So let's get right into what the driving modes are like in this X3 plug-in hybrid. First of all, you do have Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro, much like you would in any other core BMW product. But just below those collection of buttons, you have this button, the eDrive button, and through this, you now have 3 more different driving modes, and those consist of Auto eDrive, Max eDrive, and Battery Hold. So there isn't much to discuss with Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. If you know any other BMW, you know exactly what this system is and how it works. But with the eDrive function, it's a little simpler and a little easier to explain to people than what I experience with the various driving modes in the X5. So with the eDrive Auto mode, this is essentially the most hybrid-focused drive that you can get. It's going to use both power systems, it's going to use them when you need them. That is its standard mode. But then if you go to Max eDrive, this is just pure electrical capability. And much like the X5 45e, this vehicle you can really comfortably drive about in the pure electric range. And for this vehicle, BMW claims 29 kilometers on a full battery pack. I am in Max eDrive now, and you can quite rapidly gain speed with that electric motor and 12 kilowatt hour battery pack. But if you were to really slam your foot into the throttle and hit that kick down button, it will still engage the 4-cylinder motor. But you don't have to be anywhere as cautious or as gentle with your right foot that you would in a normal hybrid vehicle. Because the X330e has an electric motor between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission, you are occasionally going to feel the shifting from one gear to the other. It isn't as smooth as if the 8-speed was just hooked up to a gasoline motor. And this is one of the interesting things about the way that BMW is building their plug-in hybrids. They are an extension of the gasoline setup of the core BMW models. And in the case of this X3, there are a few more downsides than what there were in the X5. In both vehicles, it reduces the overall capacity. In the X5, it's about 5%. In this, it's about 10%. And you have a really ugly lip in the trunk of this X3. It looks quite inelegant, and it just makes the vehicle look like it was a bit of an afterthought if they couldn't already stuff that battery pack where it needed to go elsewhere in the car. So not only are you going to have to lift items up and over that space a little bit more, you also don't have a totally flat floor when you drop the rear seats. So in a way, the plug-in hybrid version of this X3 doesn't feel as well integrated in terms of packaging than the X5, but otherwise the driving experience is just as commendable. Like I mentioned, when you're in Max Drive, you can really depend on that electric motor and battery pack, and I've been driving about in town now in pure electric drive and never had to worry about it. If you used a level 2 charger to charge up this vehicle at home at night, you would charge it all up in less than 3.5 hours. And much like the other X3s that I've been able to test out in the past, it's a wonderfully driving compact crossover. It feels quite involving, so if you want a compact crossover to be refined, relaxed, the X3 might not be the vehicle for you because it has very communicative steering. The turn-in is sharp, the ride is a little more engaging than its competitors. And just like any hybridized or electric vehicle, the regenerative brakes can make the brake feel a little odd. I don't want to say squishy, I think that's not a very accurate term, but it just makes the travel in the pedal feel a lot longer when you're engaging the real physical brakes over the regenerative braking system via the electric motor. I'm particularly fond of the X3's cabin. Feels very open, lots of storage space, and interacting with all the systems is fantastic. It's a little disappointing to see the amount of glossy black plastic that's in this specific vehicle, given that we have these really beautiful wood inlays on the doors and across the dash. I wish it could be implemented in some way down here to replace this easy to scratch and often dirty looking surfaces. I'm quickly going to touch upon the second row of seating and some of the other features here. If you want more in-depth thoughts about the storage in the second row space and some of the other features in the X3, then have a look at my X3 M40i review that I made fairly recently. But to give you the recap, second row of seating is very good for a tall person like me. I'm able to sit upright and have a little bit of headroom. Each seat folds independently. The seats in this model are fantastic, and it's great that as a taller driver you have a little bit of thigh extension. That makes a world of difference if you're on a long highway commute. The side bolsters pinch into your body a little bit if you want to feel a little more constricted on your drive, and all of the graphics and the user interface are amongst the very best that BMW has to offer. Even though you're using a little bit of a last generation iDrive knob and button setup, it just works as well as anything else that's coming out of their much larger and much more expensive models. So to wrap up my thoughts on this X3, I have now tried out all of the variants of this compact crossover, the 30i, the M40i, and the X3 competition. And to be a little personal for a second, this kind of vehicle is the kind of vehicle I'm looking for in my next personal car. I have two very distinct driving situations. Either I'm doing short commutes in town to just do the day-to-day chores, or I'm driving 250 to 350 kilometers in a day to go into the city to do my job. And with that, the plug-in hybrid aspect of any plug-in hybrid is quite attractive to me. So if I was personally going out to spend my own money, I would be looking at a vehicle like this, because not only does it have the efficiency of the electric powertrain and totally EV driving situations and a truly usable range, but it's always got that security, that insurance, that as soon as I need to make a quick jaunt into the city, that I don't have to wait around charging up for hours on end, or potentially be stranded if I run out of range. And I've gone into depth as to why I think hybrids should be anybody's next vehicle if they want a more engaging drive, because just driving about and turning each commute into a game for yourself where you're trying to maximize the regeneration, you're trying to hold on to EV mode as long as possible. I love that. That's an element of driving any hybrid or any plug-in hybrid or EV that makes it even more worth the while for me. So what we want to know is, what would you have out of the BMW X3s? Which is the one that you would personally put in your garage? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for taking the time to watching this video here on HotCars. If you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, and all of the other great things that come along with helping us out, then please do so. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again here soon.